Dominating the headlines right now is the lawsuit that Brian Kelly's attorneys filed on his behalf against the LSU Board of Supervisors for $54 million, the full value of Brian Kelly's buyout. We'll see where this all goes. I think my contention is you have both sides playing a high leverage game of chicken. LSU, after Kelly and Kelly's reps and LSU's reps couldn't reach an agreement on a settlement of the buyout, LSU was maybe dangling the possibility of a for-cause firing, maybe hoping that would re-engage the settlement conversations. Brian Kelly's representative was like, bleep that, here's a $54 million lawsuit for the full value of it. Anyway, we'll see where that stops. But I do think it's best for both. It's best for both sides to reach an agreement so both can get on with their lives. LSU can go hire a coach, and Brian Kelly can do whatever he wants to do next. If he wants to coach again, he wants to go do TV, he just wants to go drink wine and play golf and enjoy the rest of his life. Whatever. Whatever it is. Okay. But it's best for both sides to come to an agreement so both can move on. The longer this drags out, the more detrimental it is for both. And, we know now where things stand, right? Brian Kelly is owed $54 million on the remainder of his contract. And if LSU pays him over the next 6 years, $800K a month for the next 6 years, if they agree to a negotiated settlement of that buyout lump sum, however it may look. We know also some of the numbers that have already been discussed. The advocate got a hold of documents that disclosed LSU's initial offer to Brian Kelly was $25 million. He rejected it. Earlier today at LouisianaSports.net, we reported that Kelly's representatives countered LSU at $43 million, and then which LSU rejected, and then LSU countered back with $30 million, which Kelly rejected. And that's when the conversations stopped because they were still $13 million apart. LSU went up to 30, Kelly came down to 43. That's a giant gap, man. You're $13 million apart. It's hard. Clearly, Kelly showed he was willing to negotiate. I mean, he came from 54 to 43. He came $11 million off his buyout. He showed he's willing to negotiate. That's $11 million is a significant hit. That's 20% of that buyout. I mean, he came down 20% off the number. He's serious. I don't think LSU's serious. But it also continues to underscore just how painful that is for this athletic department, its boosters, by extension, to cover this number. Anyway, I do think there is a way that LSU, if they approach this wisely, can negotiate a deal that makes sense for Brian Kelly and for LSU. And I can't take full credit for this because I was having a conversation earlier today with a buddy who's a sports agent, and he floated the idea, which makes a ton of sense, of waiving the offset value. So let me explain what I mean. Right now, Brian Kelly has a mitigation clause that would offset his buyout. So LSU owes him $54 million. Let's say Brian Kelly gets a job, if he wants to coach again or do TV or whatever money he makes from that contract would offset his buyout. So hypothetically, let's take Michigan State. And this isn't just plucked from the air. As a matter of fact, Chris Hummer from CBS Sports on the College Football Insiders podcast, Chris Hummer floated the idea of Brian Kelly to Michigan State. Give a listen.
Real quick on Brian Kelly. There's a lot of rumors this time of year, but I will say the only job that I've actually heard connected to Brian Kelly, in terms of that might interest Brian Kelly, is Michigan State. It's very much rumor season, but maybe that's something to watch if Michigan State does come open.
Okay. Not me saying it. And by the way, I don't know if I believe Brian Kelly's going to coach again. I've heard both. I've heard that from people that I trust, I don't mean, unnamed people on Twitter. I mean people I trust, that they think he will coach again. And I've heard that he's out. that he's just looking to maybe do a TV job or just go enjoy the rest of his life, and he's got his money and go whatever it may be. I don't know. So I'm telling you candidly, I don't know. But I'm using Michigan State. You'll understand why. Number one, because there's a national college football writer from CBS Sports saying he's heard Brian Kelly connected with that job. And, of course, Kelly's career has been in the Midwest. He was at Central Michigan, at Cincinnati, Notre Dame, like right there. It would make a lot of sense, just geographically in the Big Ten, all that sort of stuff. Also, Jonathan Smith, the current coach at Michigan State, signed a 7-year, $52.85 million contract. Let's just call it $53 million. Okay? If Brian Kelly takes the Michigan State job, again, this is a hypothetical. Let's say Michigan State comes open, they want Brian Kelly, he takes that job, and they give him a similar deal that Jonathan Smith got, a $53 million contract. Well, guess what? Brian Kelly's buyout now goes to zero, or $1 million, right? His buyout is virtually gone because of mitigation. So, what LSU could offer in this negotiation is to remove that mitigation clause if they settle at a lower number. So, let's say LSU goes to Brian Kelly and says, hey, look, you're owed $54 million. What if we give you $30 and we remove the mitigation clause? Because what Brian Kelly doesn't want to have happen is have his buyout mitigated. So you could say, all right, we'll give you $30, but we'll remove the mitigation clause. So you go get a job, and if you get a job, it's $54 million. Now you got a $30 million bonus. You're guaranteed this lump sum on top of the deal you're doing at your new job. Does that make sense? And it does make a lot of sense. Now, that's also, of course, predicated upon the idea that Brian Kelly wants to coach again. Because if he doesn't, then he might be content just to sit back for the next 6 years and collect $800,000 a month for the next 6 years, which LSU could do that. But if Kelly wants the lump sum, now it would behoove him to come to the table, and it would certainly behoove LSU to get something done so this no longer impacts their ability to hire a coach. And these coaches only start to have urgency when they want to work again. Like Les Miles is the great example of this. When Les Miles was fired, LSU was buying him out, and Les Miles still had $6 million left on his buyout when he got the Kansas job. And at that moment, he was motivated to settle the remainder of his buyout so he could go coach. He wanted to coach again. So Les had $6 million left on his buyout, and LSU they settled for $1.6. So Les walked away from $4.4 million. He was owed $6 million. He took $1.6 million just to be done with it so he can go coach Kansas. And that's where LSU has to approach this if Brian Kelly wants to coach again. If he does, there's a way to structure this thing to where you can both get what you want, you can move on without having a messy lawsuit and suing and for cause clauses and all this sort of stuff that nobody wants to see. Neither side wants to see that. Both sides want to move on. There's a way to do it. And then, obviously, that benefits LSU because then they can just move on with their coach. And Brian Kelly can move on. Now, and if Brian Kelly does not want to coach again, okay. Then if you're LSU, your idea has to be, hey, man, we're just going to pay you for the next 6 years. You'll just stay on the payroll for the next 6 years. $800K a month for the next 6 years. And that's it. And it'll be mitigated by whatever job you get. And oh, by the way, part of that mitigation clause requires Brian Kelly to look for work. So let's say he's sitting on the sideline doing whatever and is not looking for work. Now you have an actionable item potentially against him to go say, hey, you're not looking for a job. Now your buyout goes down to zero because you're in breach of contract. And maybe then he's more motivated to settle at a reasonable number. Point is, I'm an idiot. Like, I'm an idiot. I'm just a loudmouth, red-faced, bald-headed radio guy. But I've had enough conversations with smart people today to find paths through this that are actually sensible. You don't think Brian Kelly, Trace Armstrong, Verge Osberry, Scott Ballard. You don't think these guys can have those conversations with smart people to get this thing done? It's the thing about this that annoys me the most. Like, it's never fun to pay a buyout. You gave someone a big contract. You had big hopes and dreams. It didn't work. Now you're stuck with this big bill, and it sucks. I get it. But you know what sucks more? Trying to label a for-cause firing on somebody and how that's going to reflect on your next coach and haggling over dollars and whatever public embarrassment might come out of throwing out the dirty laundry. Like, come to the table. I feel like at the beginning scene of Wedding Crashers. Like, with the arbitration, I get it. It used to be good. Wasn't the wedding good? And you dance? You're just a bunch of young kids just trying to make it honest. Can't we find the common ground and move on with this thing a little bit? You shut your mouth when you're talking to me. Anyway, there's a way to do it. These guys have got to come to the table and find their way through it. It's doable. So do it. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.